Good evening. I am one of those 60 staff people. 1969 was when I was at staff. And I love Hidden Falls Ranch, and I always have. And I'm so honored to be here tonight, not just because Byron asked me to speak, but because Hidden Falls Ranch is the place that God gave me the opportunity to literally start a new life. The impact of the people, the teaching, the love and confidence building experiences that God gave me while I was at Hidden Falls, that He used to grow me and to set my feet really on a firm foundation. And it's such a privilege for me to be able to be here tonight, to be able to share with you why I love Hidden Falls Ranch and my story of why I'm standing here before you tonight. This is, my beginnings of life started kind of rough. I came from not a good family. My parents were divorced when I was 4, which back in those days, now, sadly, now that seems to be a normal thing, but then it wasn't. And so I was kind of the odd person out at that time with having divorced parents. But my mother married a man pretty quickly, and that man began to physically, emotionally, and sexually abuse all 5 of us children. And so that's kind of the background that I came from. And this left me with a lot of shame, a lot of hurt, pain, guilt, and just a lot of mixed emotions of what to do and how to function in my life. My 3 older siblings went to live with my real father in Austin. But my little brother and I had to remain with my mother. It was just one of those age things that we didn't have a choice of where to go. So we had to stay with my mom. However, my mom was very sick all my life. I don't really ever remember my mother being well. So as a child growing up, pretty young, what I did was I was the nurse and the caretaker for my sick mother. My mom died at 14, and so you can see where my childhood, I just really never had a childhood. So when my mom died, I felt like she was the only person that loved me, the only love that I really felt and knew at that time, and she was gone. She left, she abandoned me, is kind of the way I felt. And I was pretty scared, pretty mixed up, pretty unsure of what to do. So friends brought me over to their pastor's house, and this man told me about somebody who would never leave me and never forsake me, and that was Jesus. And he told me about somebody who died on the cross for me to save me from my sins, but even more so to me, would never abandon me. And so it was somebody that I could trust, and I wanted that. And that's what I did as I trusted Christ as my Savior at that time. I knew that I had found something that I could hang on to. So I had choices at that time when I was 14 of where to go and what to do, but there were no really good choices for me, I felt, at that time. So what I did is I made the choice to stay where I was. And by that time, at 14, my stepfather had left me alone. And also, if you've been around people who have been abused like that, we learn pretty quickly to manipulate, to protect ourselves, to manipulate and control things, which is probably not a good thing as you get older, because I still deal with some of those issues of manipulation and control. Shut up, Steve. But those are some of the things that you learn at that age, to do that. So I knew that what I wanted to do. That was my safe haven. That was my comfort zone, being home. And I was raised in Lake Charles, Louisiana, or actually it was Moss Bluff, which is just a place that nobody's ever heard of, but it's out in the swamps by Lake Charles. So I became an overachiever, believing that if I did the right thing, the perfect way, that people would love me, people would care for me. And it worked pretty well for me. So that's kind of the way I lived my life. I graduated from high school at 17, and I left and moved to Dallas on my own. There was a friend of mine that had moved to Dallas the year before and was going to Dallas Bible College. And so that's what I did, is I went to Dallas Bible College. And that's where I met a young man named Mike Bella. Mike told me about Hidden Falls Ranch. So he talked about it throughout the year, and just, he just loved it, and he talked about it. And he had only been there for a couple of years. This was, he was on staff there, and Mike has another whole rebel story there. But at that time, I think he was pretty calm and pretty much had settled down and was somebody who loved Hidden Falls, loved Jesus, and I could see that. So as he told me about Hidden Falls, I knew that that's where God wanted me to be that summer. So I wrote to Uncle John, is what we call John Stott, and applied to be on staff at that time. And I was really excited because I just knew that that's where I was going. That's what God had for me. Wasn't very long, and I got a rejection letter. And there was no more room. The staff was filled up, and they didn't have any place for me. So I got on the phone and I called Uncle John and I said, "No, but you don't understand. God wants me there. This is where I'm supposed to be. I am supposed to be at Hidden Falls Ranch this summer." And he said, "Well, I have one spot left for you, and it's not a glamorous job and nobody else wants it. But we need somebody to wash the clothes for this staff. Are you willing to do that?" I was a hard worker. I loved to work. It didn't matter to me what I did. So I said, "Sure." He said, "But I can't pay you. We have no more money." I said, "Well, can you feed me? Can you give me a bed?" He said, "Sure." Well, the truth was that I didn't have a home to go to. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a job. I had nowhere else to go. This was where I was supposed to be. And that's where God took me. So I accepted the job for that, and so came with a friend, and I don't remember who it was, but came with a friend that drove from Dallas, and we went to Hidden Falls. And as coming from Lake Charles from the swamps, then moving to Dallas, it's kind of a little bit higher land, then coming kind of up on the plate here to Amarillo. And we were driving through Amarillo, through Canyon, through that area, a lot of flat land, desert, dirt, no trees. And I was looking at this person I was going with, I said, "I think that guy Mike Bella lied to us, or he tricked us." Wasn't sure which one, but we were pretty convinced that we had been taken. Now, this is a different way, but we came in through the long road right by the tower. That's how we got to camp at that time. And there's this little hill that you kind of come up over at the gate. And as you went over that hill, that was the first view of the ranch. When I came up over that hill, I saw the fire of the Red Canyon explode in front of me, and I knew that that's where God had brought me to be, at Hidden Falls Ranch. So when I was there at Hidden Falls Ranch, God put people into my life that not only loved me, but they liked me. And I had not really experienced a lot of that. So it was really an amazing experience for me. Because inside, what I felt, I felt very different. I felt what, I knew what others saw was not what I felt. What others saw, remember, I had learned to perform and to make you know or think who I was. But inside, I felt dirty. I felt shame. I felt guilt. I felt mixed up, angry, a lot of emotions that I didn't ever know what to do with. Super tomboy. I didn't like being a girl. Because honestly, at that time, you know, I had felt like if I was a girl, if I was a boy, that what had happened to me would not have happened. Now, I begin to, you know, you think things weird. You just, at that point, you learn sort of later, I learned much later that my brothers had also been abused. And it's like, wow, that's, you know, it's just kind of a different place. But that's what I felt. There's all those emotions that I just didn't know what to do with. So God overwhelmed me with his grace and love through people that changed me forever. Betty and John Stott just loved me. They were like, probably more like grandparents to me, but they just were so good to me, and they just loved me. They disciplined me sometimes. They, like parents, good parents do, but they loved me. But the thing that was so cool was the parents of campers, the parents of staff, the board members, just they brought me into their life. They loved me, they liked me, and they treated me with such dignity and respect. I went to their homes. I went to the Sims homes, the home many times. Steve and Kevin were, because I was such a tomboy, I'd finish my job at the laundry, and I'd have all the clothes folded and set out and marked off with the staff's name. And I was through with my job. This was the first year. So I'd go hang around with the horses and with Steve and Kevin, and I'd get to ride, and I'd clean up the mess, you know, with them. I'd work right along beside of them. And at that time, these guys didn't allow girls there, but they didn't know I was a girl, so it was okay. I was one of the boys, you know, so. But God just overwhelmed me with his grace through these people, but the fun thing is the staff, the other staff included me, and I was part of them, and I had not experienced that before. So that was an amazing experience. And the really fun thing was the campers loved me. I was Charlie, and I played with the campers, and they played tricks on me. Later, I moved from being in the laundry to being a counselor, probably within I don't know, it was probably about four weeks or something like that. So I moved pretty quick from that job, and I think I even started getting paid, but I didn't care at that point. As long as I had food and a bed, I was good. But they would put my bed outside. There was always something that, you know, and it was fun, and I loved it because they loved me. So Charlie was my camp nickname, and that was a pretty amazing thing. Another thing that God did through me, through Hidden Falls Ranch, was he introduced me through some campers and staff, Allison and Stacy Brooks, to a man named Dick Brooks, who I think Dick might have been on the board at some time, and he was just a supporter of Hidden Falls, and his kids were out there. And Dick talked, this was now years later, and I was back in Dallas working, and I had been working at a printing company. And Dick offered me the chance to open up my own printing company, which was a life changer, a future changer for me. And so I came to Amarillo, which I knew that my car that it just knew the way. It just came to Dallas. Then we could drive 90 miles an hour too, so it was a short trip. So I think it was probably really 80, but you could drive 90, so a little break the law, just a little bit, just a little while. So that just opened up a new chapter in my life as this man believed in me. He saw something in me that I could not see myself. Again, God just constantly has put people in my life like that to support me. And he was one of those people through Hidden Falls Ranch. So he invested in my business to help me to open up this business and was a silent partner. I mean, he lived in Amarillo. I lived in Dallas. I had my shop in Dallas. And he left me and let me do it. I was 25 years old. I was 25, single, and a woman. Women didn't own businesses then, much less women in printing. But he believed in me. And so again, God just used that in my life. It was pretty amazing. 13 years later, I was able to buy out his shares of the printing business and own it completely myself. About that time, a little around 1987, 88, God brought somebody back into my life. And so I have to tell you, Steve Sims is an incredible man, but sometimes he's a little slow. So it took him 18 years later that he came to and met me, saw me at my church, and we, through a series of it's a great story, but anyway, we ended up getting married in 1988. And he just was the love of my life, and I just am amazed that God brought him into my life. And he loves me like I don't deserve to be loved. And it's another one of God's grace. And again, through Hidden Falls Ranch. So, but the thing that I love about that too is it was all in God's timing. I teased him about being slow, but it was just God's timing. And because at camp, he was my buddy and he was my friend, and we never dated, wouldn't have even thought about it. First of all, he thought I was a guy. So I think with Kevin and Steve, I would go riding with them and shooting with them out at their house, and little Brian would hang around with us too, and we were just friends. So we wouldn't have ever thought about that. So it was all in God's timing. So that's the way He made things. The thing that I love most of all about that story, though, is with Steve Sims, I got a family. God gave me, through Hidden Falls Ranch, a family. It's my family now. And it's a family of Sims boys and all their kids, and 2 great sister-in-laws and lots of nieces and nephews that I just love, that are all have been part of Hidden Falls Ranch. So just the whole Sims family has been part, and that's just been an incredible experience for me to just keep on going with that legacy. So the legacy of Hidden Falls Ranch has lived on in my life, has gone as God has grown me and shaped me with 41 years of ministry and business at the Master's Press, 30 years of ministry and marriage with Steve, and a lifetime of serving God in all that I do and all that I want to be. And that's my forever. I love Jesus. I love God. And until the day I die, I will be serving Him. And probably until the day I die, I will be supporting Hidden Falls Ranch as well. So as I speak to groups at different times, as I teach about forgiveness, which has been a huge part of my life that I've had to do in a lot of different ways, and I now have the privilege of being what is called a forgiveness coach and being able to walk people through forgiveness, which is an incredible joy. And as I work with my customers and I'm able to sometimes share Christ with them and just have a ministry there with my printing business, And as I serve with my husband, alongside my husband in many ways, God has given me the privilege of impacting countless of lives over the many years. And it all comes back to this camp, to Hidden Falls Ranch. And I know sometimes I just see, you know, how God just multiplies our ministries, and I've been able to have the privilege of seeing that. And it's just such a privilege. It's just such a privilege to be part of that, and to building, and what this camp has done is building into the life of a very insecure, very frightened, very angry and shameful little girl of 19. And I was little then. I think I was like 98 pounds. And but if you tried to throw me in the swimming pool, you can ask some of those guys that were there. You don't throw Charlie in the swimming pool. It never happened, because they would get chewed up. At 98 pounds, they weren't going to throw Charlie into the swimming pool. So that was, yeah, and the guys learned that pretty quick. I don't know if you were there, Dan, when that, Mike. Sometimes, yeah, I could be pretty tough. But I will always be a part of giving to Hidden Falls Ranch. So what you see here tonight, what you see standing here before you, is a very different person, and a life changed because of people like you sitting here willing to give of your prayers, of your time, the board members, the staff, the parents, of bringing people into your homes. You might not even have a clue of what you're giving to somebody as you love that person. You don't know where they've been. You don't know what they've been through. But you're able to bring them into your home and love them. You're able to help them to be able to be on staff, or to be a camper, or to go to that camp. And you don't know how you've affected their life, but I guarantee you this, you have. You have had a chance to have a life-changing experience. So thank you, Hidden Falls Ranch, for being willing to be used of God to rescue me out of the pit and give me a new life. Thank you for being here and being willing to continue this legacy that would not only be lived through me, but for countless of others, through all of you sitting here, through your kids, through your grandkids, which are grandkids, or a granddaughter just came for the first time. We had a granddaughter come this last year. But because of the lives that have walked the miles of that dirt path up and down the ranch, because of those lives that you have supported in your prayers, in your time, in your giving, in your money, you will change and affect others' lives for eternity. Thank you.